Welcome to the Executive Exchange here on Moneyweb TV. I'm joined by Hylton Kallner, who's the CEO of Discovery and Discovery Bank. Hylton, it's great to have you on the show, and we're going to deep dive into a number of elements specifically around banking in South Africa and Discovery Bank itself. Perhaps let's start with the question as to, you're relatively young from a banking perspective in South Africa. And it'd be great to get your thoughts on what has surprised you most in the journey to this point.
So Bronwyn, it's been a fantastic journey. It's been a fantastic ride. If you think about where we came from 5 years ago to where we are today, the bank itself was kind of built just at the start of digital banking, almost globally in a sense. But it was built on a clear view of four hypotheses, which were largely untested at the time. But what's interesting is each and every one of them has played out, I think, better than expectation. So if you think about it, there were really four areas that we predicated the whole bank on. The first was digital banking, which I think 5 years ago was about really just a thin neobank and processing payments. It's far exceeded our expectations. Apple Pay didn't exist when we launched. Every aspect of banking has been transformed literally in half a decade since we launched, and we kind of found ourselves right squarely in the center of that. So that's been amazing. The second is we launched as a branchless bank, but full service, and that in itself was different at the time. So it was difficult to see how you could build a really kind of high quality service, high touch service without people physically in branches. But I think that's played out better than expectation because people don't want to go into branches today. And so the ability to access a banker 24/7 from anywhere in the world, that's been, I think, a revelation for clients and for our people. And then thirdly, the model itself, shared value. I think that's played out better than every single expectation. The ability to kind of give people the right incentives to manage their finances healthily and make them financially well and healthy. I think we thought, and intuitively we knew the incentives work in the health space, but the results in finances and money have proved just as powerful. So if you look at every aspect of the bank, it's played out better than expectation. But I would argue maybe the one that's been the most surprising, I think, for me personally, is the fact that we originally thought, I think, that the bank would be kind of additive to the rest of the group. I think today more and more we're seeing that actually the bank is powering the group, and that kind of we're injecting all of the aspects of Discovery and Discovery South Africa now into Discovery Bank. And I think so it does really reflect the fact that almost every single aspect on which the bank was built has been, I think, far, far better than we expected.
As you say, you've been exceeding your milestones, your targets. So what is the new definition for success when you look at Discovery Bank?
Sure. I think success for us hasn't really changed, to be quite honest. I think, the bank has been built on kind of a purpose of making people healthier in terms of their money and finances. And that hasn't changed. I think what has changed is probably the ambition and the definition of what success looks like at kind of an aspirational or ambition level, where initially we started off and we thought, could we onboard 100 or 200 clients a day? And today we're at 1,500 plus every single day. And so the ambition has changed, and we're now targeting 2 million clients by 2029. I don't think, that was never, ever kind of in the business plan on day one. So I think our definition of success at a kind of a numbers level has changed fundamentally, given what we think the impact of the bank can be. But at kind of a purpose level, it's exactly what it was when we launched on day one, kind of make our clients healthier.
On that note, making your clients healthier, why is that the new frontier in banking over pricing?
It's a great question, and I think the kind of banking is in itself very competitive. So I don't think there's kind of a single area that we compete on, but price, is really finite in almost every respect, whereas behavior is about long-term impact and outcomes. And what we see is that by managing the kind of fundamental aspects of your finances, simply kind of spend less than you earn, have insurance in place for catastrophes, following kind of some really basic but kind of really powerful guidelines, you can impact people in a profound way. And so what we see is behavior is really what drives long-term financial outcomes for clients, not price, not product. And more, it's not just about financial behavior. We're using behavior to personalize every aspect of the experience, from service when you call into our call centers to protecting your client, your finances through fraud prevention and security. So kind of behavior is about every aspect of banking today, far much more than price or product.
Hylton, I remember those headlines down William Nicol around Capitec eating the lunch of the big four. Whose lunch are you eating?
Look, I think banking in South Africa is a huge industry. So, we have nearly 1.5 million clients today, nearly 3.5 million accounts. So our clients are really using and engaged in the bank. I think that, we drawing clients from across the entire spectrum of South Africans, and that's what's interesting. Kind of young graduates coming into their first job are using the digital aspects of the bank prolifically, and they're really engaged in every aspect. But at the same time, we're attracting private clients into our purple banking suite at a rapid rate, and that's really, really kind of an area that we over-index. So what we find is that the fact that we have a full service, full suite product tends to meet the needs of virtually every single client in South Africa, and that's I think that's something that once again wasn't in the business plan. About 2/3 of the clients joining the bank are new to Discovery completely. So the bank is their entry point into the group. And so I think we really are speaking to kind of just the broadest range of South Africans.
Do you watch the competition? I mean, now we've got a couple of new banks coming into the fray, and certainly this new generational bank with the fintechs tying up with some of the retailers. Are you watching that landscape, or do you just focus on your own game?
I think it's an intensely competitive space. So we have to. And I think, we are incredibly aware of the kind of the competitive frontier and landscape. But we are very, very focused. And in many respects, we are trailblazing in the products and the innovations that we're launching. So we're kind of hopefully setting the pace for the rest of the industry. And, I think it's reflected in the products that we're offering and the way that we kind of are launching a number of industry firsts. So absolutely, we focused intensely on the entire market, but I think we are very much in our lane and really kind of driving innovation in our core space, and that's what's been the kind of the hallmark of the bank from day one.
Another hallmark of the bank, in fact, a hallmark of the Discovery Group, is data, and using data to really understand your client profile. How do you balance that hyper-personalization with ethics and obviously privacy? It's a tough balancing act, isn't it?
It's incredibly tough. I mean, we've had a lot of experience in it, and the kind of the ethics around how you use data for the benefit of clients. And simplistically, that's kind of the guiding principle, is that when we use data, it must be to improve the experience, to reward clients. The nature of our product is such that we need data in order to monetize better behaviors for clients. But I think and used effectively, kind of data is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So if you think about it, we're analyzing every transaction that every client makes in the bank, but we're using that then to infer, is there an element of fraud? What is the risk associated with that transaction? And so you're able to use data, but for really kind of the benefit of the clients. And that's what guides us. That the kind of the use of data comes with all the governance, all the protections and permissions, but more than that, it comes with kind of a values overlay that when we use our data must be for the good of the client.
You mentioned earlier in the discussion that initially you thought Discovery Bank would be integral to the broader Discovery ecosystem, but actually you're now seeing it almost stand alone. You've been integral in building out the Discovery Group ecosystem. So talk to me a bit about the leadership elements that have been transferable, so to speak, to the Discovery Bank agenda.
I mean, I suppose the kind of the nature of our group is that we are purpose driven across every part of Discovery, from health to life to invest, insure. The purpose is clear, and we values driven. everything that we do revolves around our values. And those are completely kind of transportable into the banking environment. So it wasn't kind of a difficult transition at all from that perspective. The bank is very much driven by the values and the purpose of the group. I think the nature of banking is much more intense than anything I've been involved in my 30 years at Discovery. It is 24/7. It demands perfection in every respect. And there's absolutely kind of no room for slippage. It's the most relevant, I would argue, probably of all the businesses that we've launched. You're managing people's finances and their earnings and their money, and the kind of the relevance of that and the importance of that is kind of, I think, above almost anything else that we've done. So it's I think at a values, culture, people level, completely analogous to everything else we've done. But I think the intensity is kind of at a level higher.
On this values element and leadership, can you give us some insight into your leadership style?
Look, I'm not a natural manager. As I say, I've been in kind of the world of Discovery for 30 years, and so I'm not a professional manager at all. As an actuary, I tend to be kind of much more technical, and so in the almost kind of in the discussion with the team around product and every aspect of the detail of the business, and I think that's what makes us different. Is that in every part of our business we are largely kind of founder manager led in the group, and so we feel differently, hopefully, about the businesses that we're building, that we're part of, and the kind of the value of clients. So I think that's hopefully what kind of I translate every day, is that kind of that intense focus on our clients and on building the business, and that's what I love.
Nothing goes up in a straight line. We've spoken about all the success points and overachieving on the milestones and the targets that you've set. What have been some of the more hair-raising moments that you've been through in this Discovery Bank journey, Hylton?
Look, I think the kind of the bank itself was launched almost directly into COVID. I think that we started the bank, and then COVID hit. We then went straight into a significant kind of like increasing interest rate cycle. So we've built the bank life by life, client by client, with kind of headwinds the whole way, and we've never known kind of easy times in a sense in the bank. But I think that's actually been beneficial in many respects. We've often said you build great businesses in tough times, and I think that's been the kind of the story of the bank, is that every step of the way we've built and innovated through really, really difficult times. And I think today it's kind of standing us in good stead. We've built incredibly robust systems. We've really had to think hard about what will be meaningful for clients, and that's really what's guided us.
What do you believe is one of the most misunderstood elements around Discovery Bank?
I think the perception I think that we have to overcome is often that the bank isn't for all South Africans. That it kind of plays to a digital savvy, affluent client. I think in reality what we're seeing is that Discovery Bank is being used across the entire spectrum of the population. As I said, from kind of young graduates all the way through to seniors who actually benefit from having a bank branch in their hand and a kind of a call center, highly qualified banker on call 24/7 through in-app dialing whenever they need them. So what we find is actually that it really does serve the needs of the entire population, and I think that's sort of getting through more and more.
Talking about the South African population, we are talking about a constrained consumer. Cost of living is still very high. Obviously, we're seeing some reprieve on the interest rate side of things. But how does that lead you to think about financial services, given the tough environment that consumers are experiencing?
Yeah, we've come through some of the toughest years, I think, that we've experienced as South Africans and as consumers. So hopefully we coming to the tail end of that cycle. But I think it's reinforced the fact for us that the kind of the value of enabling people to manage their money better is incredibly important. And I think that's been probably the single biggest lesson, that you can actually assist clients at every step of the income segment, that in terms of how to manage money better. And so we found ourselves and our model being probably more relevant than you'd find it in really kind of frothy times, in a sense. And so it's really been fit for purpose. And I think hopefully as we come through the kind of the tail end of the interest rate cycle, hopefully we'll start to see the kind of the oxygen in the system, and then our clients will be in an even better position.
Are you optimistic about the potential forward-looking health of South Africans?
I'm naturally optimistic.
When I say forward-looking health, I mean forward-looking financial health.
Financial health, yeah. I think I'm naturally optimistic, and our clients tend to kind of prove that optimism is justified. But I think that the tools have never been better. I think that through the use of incentives, we see that people respond, and that with the right kind of information, knowledge, and rewards, you can really assist clients on an income agnostic basis. And so that kind of insight does give me kind of room for optimism.
On a forward-looking basis for the bank itself, what are the targets that you've set yourselves as a team that we can measure you against as you deliver results period after period?
So I think we've been pretty outspoken every step of the way in terms of the bank itself and the targets that we've set, from break even, which I think we achieved ahead of target, to these 2029 targets, which kind of give long-term guidance. We said 2 million clients and 3 billion rand of profit, that would give I think the market, or at least investors, a sense of what we were aiming to achieve. I think far more than that, the impact is probably much bigger than we thought we could have, and so I think that's the way that we're thinking about the bank now, is how it can impact our clients and society more broadly, and I think that's coming through.
You've been watching the Executive Exchange here on Moneyweb TV. I've been chatting to Hylton Kallner, the CEO of Discovery and Discovery Bank. Thanks for joining us.